Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. I want to clarify something right from the start today. You see, when I carefully assemble the tech news each week, poring over thousands of posts and articles from the deepest bowels of the internet, I have a 3-point system for determining each story's tech newsworthiness. It must be at least somewhat related to desktop PC hardware, of course, and further points are given if it reports on hardware that greatly increases performance in PC gaming or productivity, and likewise if that hardware represents great value for the PC building consumers who, as far as I can tell, frequent my channel in search of such things. Cheers, by the way. Of course, over time, I've had to add a negative adjustment to the formula because if the news is just a rumor, that detracts from its suitability. And more recently, there's a big penalty for to what degree it is negatively impacted by AI. And that has been the true rub for several years now, most acutely since late 2025. And unfortunately, just about every PC hardware story now comes with that taint, whether we're discussing new Radeon GPUs, Intel's promising Nova Lake APUs, or Seagate's 50TB hard drives. Because you can't spell taint without AI, but you can spell tech news.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by the Geekom IT13 Max Mini PC, packing an Intel Ultra 9 185H processor, 24GB of ultra-fast LPDDR5 5600 memory, and a 500GB SSD into a tiny 0.9-liter chassis. Priced below $800 and delivering flagship-class performance, the IT13 Max features 15 I/O ports as well as Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4, supports up to 4 4K displays, and is built to last with an all-metal internal frame that Geekom durability tested by driving over it with a car. Not recommended, but good to know it survived. The IT13 Max stays whisper quiet thanks to the Ice Blast 3.0 cooling system and comes with a 3-year warranty and 24/7 customer support. So if you're looking for an extremely small, power-efficient, and cost-effective PC to use as a laptop replacement, home server or home lab, local AI box, NAS, router, or HTPC, click the Geekom IT13 Max sponsor link in the video description and use the exclusive coupon code to save 8%.
So, case in point, focusing on PC hardware, we have another new GPU launching this week from AMD's Radeon 9000 series consumer lineup, aimed at budget gamers, and all that sounds like good news at first glance, until you get into the details of AMD's new Radeon RX 9050 GPU, which specs-wise is basically an RX 9060 XT cut in half. Half the compute units, stream processors, ray tracing and AI accelerators, and texture units for an MSRP of $279. And dare I remind you all that the RX 9060 XT itself sold for $250 just 1 year ago in July 2025, as anyone who keeps up with my Price Watch series already knows, of course. But at least it doesn't have half the VRAM though, or does it? While AMD sure isn't making a big launch announcement for this GPU because it's remarkably underpowered for a price close to $300, there was an Adrenalin driver update earlier this week that added support for it, and Hassan from WCCF Tech subsequently found this CyberPower PC GamerMaster GMA 6600 BST listing from Best Buy with a 4GB RX 9050. And AMD confirmed that this card does exist, with half the VRAM and just a 64-bit memory bus, which, when combined with the other components in this $900 PC, a Ryzen 5500, 500GB SSD, a whole 8GB of DDR4 memory, should cause all of us to throw up in our mouths a little at how far PC gaming specs have fallen compared to their prices. This is a US listing too, and the other detail of the RX 9050 is that it is a regional product, being distributed to the Asia-Pacific, Japan, and Latin America markets initially, at least. That's the 9050 8GB, which Sapphire and ASRock have new product pages up for. The 9050 4GB is an OEM-only product, so no official MSRP. It apparently will be available outside those regions, and it will be found in pre-built systems likely purchased by less informed buyers who are unaware what a horrible bottleneck a 4GB GPU will be in 2026. But at least it's a new GPU launch, right guys? Speaking of budget gaming options, the next story is perhaps the most optimistic one this week, relatively speaking, of course. I have long advocated for a really good APU, that's a CPU with reasonably powerful integrated graphics, to offer an entry-level gaming option with an upgrade path, and while AMD's Ryzen G series APUs have been okay, they always felt lackluster. So this news about an Intel Nova Lake desktop CPU with 12 Xe3P cores has my interest, as the iGPU's power needs have apparently placed this chip in the 65-watt power delivery range, which isn't a big deal for desktop power delivery or cooling, but does potentially mean not all LGA 1954 motherboards will support it, as some budget boards might not have a capable power delivery configuration. This is still a rumor for now, I should mention, shared by generally reliable leaker Jkin, and the unnamed Nova Lake CPU will also apparently have 4 P cores, 8 E cores, and 4 low-power E cores, along with the 12 Xe3P core iGPU, and for comparison, the currently available Arc B580 has 20 Xe2 cores. So this Nova Lake CPU isn't going to be outperforming low-end discrete cards, and in fact there's already Panther Lake-based laptops on the market that have 12 Xe3P core iGPUs that show performance to be a bit slower than an RX 7600 generally speaking. Still, for an iGPU, that's solid entry-level gaming performance, so if Intel carries over their approach from the Arrow Lake refresh earlier this year and prices this chip right, it could be a great option for building a PC in 2027 without a discrete GPU, with plans to upgrade further down the line. You know, once this whole PC hardware shortage settles down. Speaking of the PC hardware shortage, when Valve announced the Steam hardware trio back in November 2025, which included the Steam controller, Steam machine, and Steam frame, it was immediately clear that the timing wasn't ideal. We were already a month or two into the memory crisis, and Valve was eventually forced to delay the Steam machine launch until June 2026, while also going with a much higher price than intended due to RAM and storage prices. $1,050 for the base model versus a rumored $750 or so that they were aiming for. And now there's anticipation that the Steam Frame VR headset will launch soon at last, per compatibility ratings recently included on the Steam store, but that might be tougher given Qualcomm's apparent plans to raise the prices of their chips starting September 1st, including the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor that powers the Steam Frame by double-digit percentages, which means 10% at least, but probably more, or they would have just said 10%. There is hope that Steam frames already imported, as spotted back in June, might still sell for a lower introductory price, but all signs point to the Steam frame going the way of the Steam machine with a higher MSRP than Valve had originally planned. And now it's time for tech briefs, which may be even briefer than usual this week due to time constraints, but at least they're arranged into 2-packs. First, we have the I told you so pairing. As mentioned last week, per supply chain rumors, Nvidia is upping the prices for the GPU plus VRAM kits they sell to board partners, and therefore GPU prices are likely to increase. And what do you know? This week there's reports of MSI and Colorful raising Nvidia RTX 50 series prices in China by up to 59% across the entire product stack, which tracks with the rumor. And here in the US, Best Buy has also boosted GPU prices, more specifically for the higher end cards, where the ROG Astral RTX 5080 now lists for $2,100, a 40% markup over its original $1,500 MSRP, and yes, more than the RTX 5090 at its $2,000 launch price, which is just a sad reminder of how things used to be now that the RTX 5090 pricing has climbed to, say, $4,830 for an ROG Astral 5090 or $4,600 for the MSI Supreme Liquid SoC. You were also warned that the RAM shortage would continue for a while because RAM fabrication is hard and new fabs take time to build. And even newer manufacturers entering the market, like China's CXMT, were unlikely to significantly impact DDR5 prices. And once again, it has been shown that CXMT is a business and is pricing their products similarly to SK Hynix, Micron, and Samsung, rather than offering blowout sales to beleaguered DIY PC builders, though in the grand scheme of things, more RAM output should improve supply, albeit slowly. Similarly, new fab production, such as the rumored build-out by Huawei in Shenzhen, China, is a good thing, but is unlikely to have an impact on retail prices anytime soon. This one is unconfirmed, for one, but it's also supposedly still in the R&D phase and looks to be 2 to 3 years out at minimum for high-capacity production. If anything, this is reason to hold out more long-term hopes that when the RAM supercycle gets back to the oversupply phase, it will be a significant oversupply, and we'll all be swimming in low-priced DDR5 and, hey, DDR6 memory deals too, for that matter, assuming the AI bubble pops, of course. The one bit of more near-term hope I saw on the supply chain side this week was from Samsung, who is one of the big three, and who plans to expand capacity at one of their existing fabs specifically to increase DRAM production, not the HBM favored by AI data centers. A task force has been assigned, which always makes it sound more serious, with the goal being to increase capacity by 15% by the end of 2026, relative to the output they were capable of at the beginning of the year. That's a much shorter timeline for more RAM on the market, and while Samsung is making this push at the behest of Apple and other Tier 1 partners who really need more DRAM, it's another indication that supply is improving from one of the largest fabricators in the world. Let's finish with a couple more actual PC hardware stories, starting with a new hard drive capacity high watermark coming from Seagate. 50 terabyte drives with 5+ terabytes per platter are in the works with 3rd gen HAMR or heat-assisted magnetic recording technology, which sounds great given the storage shortage that's been shunted in alongside the RAM crisis. It's another long-term hope though, as the drives are still in the qualification stage that won't complete until the end of 2027. And even if they ship in 2028, Seagate says pretty much all their as yet unmanufactured drives are already sold out through 2029 via those long-term supply agreements that have been so hot lately. So yet another story about cool hardware advancement that is very much tainted by AI demand. One area that has mostly been AI taint-free though has been monitors, which can be found in abundance for mostly reasonable prices with a lot of cool progress in recent years. For gaming, there has been a refresh rate war raging, and HKC has a new weapon they'll be showing off at the ChinaJoy Expo in Shanghai this weekend. A 1300 Hz gaming monitor, which must be getting close to being as fast as the human eye can see, which is also tri-mode, which means higher resolutions at lower refresh rates as well, but the details beyond that are slim, as the screen size, panel type, and the resolution and refresh rate combos for the 3 modes were not shared yet. They also apparently have a 12K ultra-wide, which measures 83.4 inches and has an 11,520 by 2,160 resolution, although just a 60 Hz refresh rate. Surely the RAM shortage will give out eventually, and we can fully appreciate these new displays and not just bitterly complain that you'll need a $5,000 RTX 5090 to power them. But there you have it guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all of the articles I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested, and you can check out my store at paulshardware.net for high-quality merchandise like t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you next week.